Welcome to another edition of E.W. Jackson for America. Seems like it's been a while since I've been with you because I did leave town on Wednesday night, actually. So, yeah, I guess I missed Thursday's program and I missed Friday's program. And, of course, I don't do a live program on Mondays. We play the message from Monday on the message from Sunday on Mondays. And so it has been a few days since I've been with you. And of course, I am glad to be back. First and foremost, we are only 3 days away from the Stand Awards dinner. And I am grateful to all the prayers, the support, the financial contributions that have come in, and they're still coming in. And I really do appreciate that. I want to say we don't have any more space available. We are sold out. Between ticket purchases and complimentary tickets, and we just don't have any more seating. However, if you are really interested in going and you waited until the last minute to make a decision, say, oh man, I'd really like to go and like to be there, maybe to support this candidate or that candidate, maybe just to support the organization, call our office. And because we do have cancellations, of course, we've asked people, if you can't make it, please let us know, so that we don't pay for dinner that just goes to waste. And so we have had a couple of cancellations, and so if you're really interested and you want to take advantage of one of those complimentary tickets, call us and say, hey, is there anybody canceled, any other seats available? If there are, I'd love to be able to take advantage of that. And we could even establish a waiting list. And the best thing to do is to just email us at awardsdinner@standinc.net, awardsdinner@standinc.net. But for all practical purposes, the deal is sealed now, and all that's left to do is to have the event on Friday evening. So be praying for us. And now, having gone through all the energy and organizing and effort and planning that goes into putting on one of these things, now you come down to actually the execution. And of course, we're always on pins and needles trying to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed and everything is in place, and that it really goes off seamlessly, and that people who come, I always have 3 measures of success for these events. One, obviously, is that the event is spiritually edifying, that it blesses the people who come to it, and that it accomplishes for the organization in terms of informing and inspiring and encouraging people what we want to accomplish. That's the spiritual dynamic. Of course, the second is the financial dynamic, that we raise the money we need to raise in order to meet the budget needs of our organization, and that this dinner plays its part in that. That's the second measure of success. And the third measure of success is obviously turnout, getting people out to it, and we're going to have a good crowd. You know, we made up our minds last year that we would no longer focus on the size of the crowd, because the size of the crowd is really not what matters most. What matters most is just getting the right people out to it, because of course the larger the crowd, the more expensive the event. And the more expensive the event, the more money that comes in goes to pay for the event rather than meeting the needs of the organization. So we decided that we weren't going to go out of our way just to try to raise a crowd, particularly if it meant we're just paying for more food and paying for more space and paying for whatever the expenses are that go with having more people, that we would focus really on the quality of the event and kind of let the crowd size take care of itself. That has worked out beautifully this time. So we're going to have a really good group of people there. It won't be the largest event we've ever had, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is the spiritual edification, the financial goals being reached, and blessing the people who do come. So that's why I say at this point we have sold out in terms of our planned attendance. That we're not we're not asking anybody else to come. We're not trying to sell any more tickets. That part of it is done. But if you really want to come and be a part of it, just call us, and if we can establish a waiting list or something like that for people who are interested in coming as our guests on a complimentary ticket, If cancellations come in and there are people who decide, well, I just can't make it, we will make those available to you. Otherwise, for those of you who are coming, we will see you there in just 3 days. Friday night, March the 16th, 7 p.m. At Cornerstone Chapel. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great, great time in the Lord. It's going to be at the ministry building. A lot of people got a little bit confused about that last time because it's a big campus. And so we're going to have signs up pointing people to where they need to park and where they need to go so that nobody's kind of wandering around the campus trying to figure out, well, exactly where is this event supposed to be happening. So we're going to take care of that too. All right, well, enough of that. Here's what I want to talk to you about. By the way, I was at a meeting last week and had an opportunity to talk to Joel Rosenberg. You may or may not know Joel Rosenberg. Joel Rosenberg is an American. He is, I believe his father was Jewish. His mother was not. He is a Christian, but he lives in Israel, so he has dual citizenship. He lives in Israel, and he is probably one of the most knowledgeable people about what's going on in Israel who is not in the government that you'd ever want to find. He's written multiple books, some of them fiction about Israel, but they tend to be so very close to the reality of what goes on in Israel that a lot of people find his books prophetic. He is one of the most interesting people I've ever met, and I had a chance to talk to him. In fact, I was trying to arrange to get him to be a guest on my program when I was on the radio daily, but because of the time difference, we could never quite get it worked out. So he and I agreed that we're going to do it again. We're going to get back at it and get it done. I dropped the ball. He's obviously busy. I'm busy, and it just kind of faded away. But I want to introduce all of you to Joel Rosenberg. Believe me, you will be glad that I did. By the way, so speaking of Joel Rosenberg and of Israel and the Middle East in general, I had this thought in preparation for this program. Do you all remember this? Barack Obama got the Nobel Prize for nothing. And that's not an exaggeration. That's a true statement. He got the Nobel Peace Prize for nothing. He got it at the beginning of his administration. I mean, maybe you say, well, they gave it to him for winning the election, but since when does the Nobel Peace Prize get given out to somebody because they win an election? Well, it was an historic election, yeah, but to me, that's asinine. The person could turn out to be the most monstrous individual anybody's ever seen, and you've already given him a Nobel Prize, not the Nobel Peace Prize, to say, not knowing what in the world he'll do. But they did it. And of course, in my view, he never did anything to deserve it. Nothing to deserve it. That or any other prize. Look, from my perspective, at least, now people who supported him will have a different perspective, but from my perspective, everything Barack Obama did of any significance was wrong. Everything he did of any significance was wrong. He promoted and defended Islam. Wrong. He promoted and defended homosexuality and really introduced this whole, this new sort of revolutionary phase of sexual libertinism and depravity by coming out in support of so-called same-sex marriage, which there is no such thing, as I've said many times, lighting up the White House in rainbow color, going to this Human Rights Council abomination of nothing but a bunch of sexual perverts, and telling the world that we'd be a better place if everybody admired same-sex relationships. I guess he's saying that to God as well, because obviously he believes he knows better than God that a same-sex relationship is a great thing, and God says it's an abomination and a sin. a particularly detestable sin in the sight of God. But not to Barack Obama. And of course, if it comes to between God and Barack Obama, we know we should be listening to Barack Obama, not God, right? He divided us racially, constantly. Even his wife is still complaining. But constantly complaining. People, they don't like me because they don't agree with me because I don't look like other presidents. This stuff is psychotic, folks. It really is. It's psychotic. Here you are, the most powerful man in the world, making decisions that affect your fellow countrymen and the entire world, decisions about which there can be very passionate and rational debate whether you are doing the right thing or not. And you reduce all disagreement with you to, oh, these people just don't like me because of the color of my skin. You know, I don't look like other presidents. I mean, it is so juvenile. It really is. It's just so juvenile. But that's what they did. Instead of wearing with integrity and honor the majesty of the office that the American people bestowed upon him, he walked around whining like a little sissy over, you know, people don't like me because I'm black. They don't agree with me because I'm black. I mean, get over yourself. He promoted this whole climate change hoax. Oh, the world's going to end, and we've got to. Again, and by the way, first black president of the United States. What did Barack Obama do? And I challenge any of my black viewers. I challenge you, and if you are in agreement with me, find some of your friends who maybe aren't in agreement with me, and I challenge you to challenge them. Say, tell me one major thing, one significant thing that Barack Obama did for the black community. Wait a minute. There's got to be something. Here's what he did for the black community. Nothing. He was too busy promoting homosexuality and Islam and climate change and all this other crazy stuff. Oh, and not to mention, I mean, of course, he did a slightly better job than Joe Biden. He did some deportation, but still, I mean, he was the prelude to Joe Biden opening the floodgates, as far as I'm concerned. He was certainly not. He was not Donald Trump, was he? In terms of closing the border. So what did he really do? What did he do for America? I can't think of a single significant thing he did for America, but they gave him the Nobel Prize, which to me made the thing worthless. Because I said all that to say this. Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize now. He deserved it from his first term with the Abraham Accords. Donald Trump, in frankly another surprise, this man's been surprising me since he came on the scene. Because when he first started talking about running, I think Donald Trump's not going to run. Donald Trump just wants attention. And when he started running, Donald Trump's not going to win. People aren't going to vote for Donald Trump. And when he won the primary, by the time he won the primary, I was completely and totally on board. I was supporting Ted Cruz up until that point. But I was completely and totally on board, like a lot of people thinking, boy, some of the things he says, oh, yeah. But even then I was thinking, well, can Donald Trump really beat Hillary Clinton? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, we were in there pitching. I mean, there's no question about it. I have a super PAC called Stand America PAC, and we were in there pitching. We were raising money. We were running ads. I mean, we in fact, we've done that every year. We did it last year. We ran over 900 ads in the black community in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. 900 ads. I haven't gotten much credit for it, but I know that we moved the needle. I know we did, because we were the only ones in there doing that. But that aside, and I don't want to talk about me. President Donald Trump surprises me again. He surprises me all along the way. Winning that first election, he comes back, surprises us all again probably by taking the nomination hands down. And I have probably better appreciation for that than many people, because I actually ran for president, didn't really place, because the mainstream media completely shut me out of the process, and didn't even acknowledge my candidacy, and the Republican Party apparatus didn't either. I think because, frankly, they really did not want a strong Christian voice in the race. Just like when I ran for lieutenant governor here, Republican establishment did the same thing. They did not want a strong Christian voice in the race. Don't bring up God. Don't bring up abortion. And you know, that. Don't get me started on that one, because right now Virginia is facing a dilemma, and I'm going to probably dedicate a program to asking you all to pray for Virginia and giving you my analysis on where Virginia is right now in our electoral prospects. But I'll simply say for the moment, they don't look good, folks. They don't look good. But Donald Trump is in the Middle East right now. And Donald Trump is using something that I'm going to dub, now maybe someone else has used this phrase, but I haven't heard anyone else use it. But Donald Trump is using what I would call business and economic diplomacy. But he is using his business acumen to help move the agenda of the United States of America forward by negotiating tremendous deals, putting pressure on other countries around the world, allies, of course, and of course enemies, adversaries, to change the nature of our trade relationships. And he is recruiting businesses to invest in the United States of America. He is bringing our manufacturing back. It's just an amazing thing to see. It really is. And you know, folks, I may have said this once before. I don't think I've said it much. But I'll tell you what I thought it from time to time. I don't have any doubt. And of course, when I ran for president, I said then, and I'll say now when people would say, you're a long shot. And I would say to them, everybody is a long shot except Donald Trump. I said, if you're running because you actually think you're going to beat Donald Trump and take the nomination away from him, you are probably not worthy to be in this race, because that means that you've completely lost touch with reality. You better have another reason for running. Because if your reason for running is, I am going to beat Donald Trump, then you are living in la la land. I knew that going in. So what was my reason for running? My reason for running it was, I felt that there would be no other voice in the race that would be calling America back to God and saying to America, we've got to come back to our Judeo-Christian values and principles. We've got to come back to the founding principles of our nation, the first principles of our nation. And the first principle of our nation is that our rights, our liberties come from Almighty God. Therefore, we are all, both the government and us as individual citizens, are accountable ultimately to Him. And our nation is governed under His authority. One nation under God. That's what we say when we pledge allegiance, right? One nation under God. That's why I ran. I ran to get that message out. And frankly, that's the message that the mainstream media hates to hear more than almost any other message. And so they basically just silenced me. They just censored me at every turn. I'd do interviews. They'd end up on the cutting floor. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, well, he's not a serious candidate. Well, we're going to treat him like he's not a serious candidate, make sure he's not a serious candidate. So when I'd go to meetings and get a better response than any other candidates who showed up, they wouldn't report that. So, at any rate, I underestimated Donald Trump all along the way. See, here's what I wanted to get to. Folks, I don't have any doubt about it whatsoever. Donald Trump is a better president than I would have been. I'm serious. Watching him, I just believe Donald Trump is a better president than I would have been. Now, that's not on everything, because I think I would have been better than Donald Trump on some of the social and moral issues of the day, because they would have been a major sticking point for me. They would have been a major emphasis for me. They're not as much for him, obviously. But in terms of Donald Trump's economic policy, in terms of Donald Trump's trade policies, in terms of Donald Trump just, I think if this were his first term, I might not say that as emphatically as I'm saying it. But in this second term, having learned for those first 4 years, I'll tell you, I really believe we're witnessing one of the greatest presidents in the history of our country. I really do. And I don't think I would have been that. I would have loved to have been, but let's put it this way. I don't think I would have risen to the level of a Donald Trump. I think if by some miracle I were to get elected president after Donald Trump's administration, I think I'd be a better president just having watched him. And I hope that whoever gets elected president, because it won't be me, because I have no intention to ever run again, but whoever gets elected president will take the Donald Trump blueprint. Now, there's only one Donald Trump. You can't be Donald Trump, but take the Donald Trump policy blueprint and apply it. Cut regulations. Hold all of our allies and adversaries accountable on an international basis. Put America first. Bring manufacturing back to our country. Make the economy accessible to the average working American, as opposed to the left always crying about, oh, you're taxing the rich, you're taxing the poor, you're not taxing the rich. And while at the same time, under the Biden administration, all the wealth shifts to the most wealthy people in the country. While they talk all this rhetoric of, oh, we're concerned about the working man, give me a break. A bunch of hogwash, a bunch of empty rhetoric, because they did just the opposite. Their policies achieved just the opposite. Because when you increase government regulations and you increase all these hurdles, who do you think pays for that ultimately? It's not the wealthy people. It's not the big corporations. They passed all their costs along to the American people. But these idiot Democrats, that's a fundamental economics lesson that they've never seemed to learn. Well, because they can't really learn it, because they're communists at heart. They don't want to learn it. They just don't believe in free market economics. They really believe in collectivism, and they really believe that the government should control everything and everybody. That's what they really believe, folks. They'll never say it that way, but that's what they really believe. Donald Trump has done, the things he is doing are revolutionary for the economy, for peace in the world. Donald Trump has been masterful. Look at how he has been pushing. Do you think that Russia and Zelensky, Putin and Zelensky would even be meeting now were it not for the pressure that Donald Trump has put on them? I don't believe it. I think they both know that they need the United States of America, that Donald Trump wants peace, and that if they want to prosper, that at some point they're going to have to effect peace in order to be in a position to gain the benefits that they could benefit from a good relationship with the United States, a working relationship at the very least with the United States. And they're not going to have that if they continue this war. And they know that because Donald Trump has made that crystal clear. Donald Trump's the puppet of Putin. I mean, what, you know, you look at these press people and you just think, wow. How could any people, presumably so well educated, be so dumb? Did you see the woman, a reporter who asked him about the airplane from Qatar? And by the way, folks, look, I want my president and I want my country to be beholden to no one in terms of anybody's ability to buy us off. And Joe Biden was the poster child for being bought off. He was bought off by pretty much anybody who had money to spend. Hunter was his bag man, and Joe Biden was for sale. You just might as well put a great big old for sale sign up on the White House because he was for sale. And anybody who doubts that, you just don't want to face reality. I mean, it's just quite obvious. What was Hunter Biden doing? Why was he flying around in Air Force One with his father? Why was he coming home from China with his father with a $1.5 billion deal for the Biden family? Why? I think it's because Hunter Biden he's just absolutely brilliant. You know, you have to have BBs for brains to believe that. So Biden was for sale. We know it. He may have been smart enough, cunning enough to have avoided stepping over the legal line so that he could not be charged with high crimes and misdemeanors or treason against the United States of America. But believe me, I think he walked right up to that line and kicked it quite a few times without necessarily jumping over it. Will anybody say that about Donald Trump? Of course not. Then first of all, the man doesn't need any money. He's wealthy enough in his own right, number one. But number two, it's just obvious that that's just not, Donald Trump is not a guy. I mean, Donald Trump strikes me as the kind of guy that to even suggest buying him off would almost get you punched in the nose. That's the way he strikes me. I mean, who do you think you're talking to? I mean, I think that's the way he is. So this airplane from Qatar, which even Rand Paul, who I don't trust, because I think Rand Paul is more libertarian than he is really a Christian biblical worldview conservative. Because, you know, Rand Paul and his father thought that there was nothing wrong with Iran having nuclear weapons. That's their business, not ours. I mean, I don't know. You know, too cute by half, in my view. But he's got a problem with it. And of course, the Democrats are saying it's an emolument. It's against the Constitution. Well, first of all, they're not giving the plane to Donald Trump. Now, would Donald Trump benefit from the airplane while he's president if it's converted to be used as Air Force One? Of course he would. But the plane is being given, as he pointed out, to the Defense Department. And you got some stupid reporter acting like they're giving him a personal gift. I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, how can you be that dumb? Now, Donald Trump said the plane would be turned over to his library afterwards, but I don't necessarily think that that's true, because if the plane is in good condition and it's an up-to-date, fully equipped Air Force One, when the plane that they turned over to Ronald Reagan's library was already outdated. But if this one's fully equipped, the next president would step right into it and use it. It's a gift to the United States of America. And does anybody think that countries don't give gifts? I mean, my goodness, folks, every time you go to New York, you look at a gift from France. Why don't we send that back? It's preposterous. And not to mention the fact that Qatar can give a gift to the United States of an airplane that is the same, I guess, comparable to an Air Force One airplane. But I guarantee you they probably got to spend $1 billion bringing that thing up to speed with all of the equipment and accoutrements that Air Force One needs, all the top secret things, because none of us knows what's in Air Force One. The equipment that Air Force One has in it is top secret. I guarantee you very few people know all the stuff that's in Air Force One because they can't. It's because Air Force One is equipped to protect the President of the United States and to make his flying as secure as flight can possibly be. So Qatar doesn't know. They're not going to be given privy to those secrets. If they do send a plane to the United States of America, if they do send a brand new jet to the United States of America, that's the equivalent of or comparable to the Air Force One jet in terms of size and accoutrements and all that, it's then got to be turned over to the Defense Department to equip that plane with everything that Air Force One needs. Now, if it's going to be used as Air Force One, sometimes you just wonder. But of course, anything at all to try to disparage, defame, slander, libel Donald Trump, anything at all, is just, and it is just utterly preposterous. I think Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Prize. Here's another thing. I want to congratulate Idan Alexander, who has just been released by Hamas. He is back in back with his family, back with his parents. I'm not sure exactly where he is yet, but thank God he's out. Now, this kid, they say, was locked in a cage, handcuffed and locked in a cage. They held him for over a year. I just want to commend this kid. I mean, 'cause this is a young guy. I just want to commend this kid for his strength of character to have to endure all that. Who knows what they did to him? Who knows what they did to him? And thank God he's out alive. Does anybody doubt that were it not for the strength of a President Trump, that Idan Alexander would probably be dead right now or wouldn't have been released? I mean, folks, Donald Trump is a force to be reckoned with. There is just no question about it. In fact, I'll tell you, I've said this before. It's been a while since I've said it. But I'm convinced of this, that one of the reasons why the left hates Donald Trump is that the left hates men. They really do. They don't like manhood. They like homosexuality. They like feminism. They like effete men. They like drag queens. They claim to like black people, but if you're black and you're a homosexual, or you're black and you're transgender, you just, I mean, they put you on a pedestal as high as the Empire State Building, because that's what they're into. That's where their perverse minds run. But real manhood, they don't like. They really don't. That's toxic masculinity. And Donald Trump is the ultimate alpha male. I mean, this is no question about it. Donald Trump is the ultimate alpha male. I mean, he is a no take no garbage, no holes barred. This is who I am, like it or lump it. and get out of my way because here I come. And I tell you what, I love it because, you know, the country, I just read an article. I don't think I saved it either, but I just read an article, I think it was yesterday, talking about the fact that men are falling further and further behind women on education, on employment, on income, on promotion. Women are outstripping men on all these levels. I don't know why I didn't save that when I saw it. Let me see if I can find it. But I wonder why. Because many of the people in leadership roles in this country, in the Democrat Party, hate manhood. In fact, the worst thing you can be in life is a man and white. Being a man is bad now, particularly if you're a masculine man. If you're a man who's comfortable in your own masculine skin, you're a problem. But if you're a white man, or as I prefer to frame it, if you're a man of European ancestry who is comfortable in your own masculine skin, you are persona non grata. You are the worst of the worst. You are just reeking with privilege. And you're a racist, even if you don't know it. You're an oppressor, even if you don't know it. Now, you can solve all that by putting on a dress. Saying you're a woman, changing your name, creating some pronouns for yourself. And you're great. You're wonderful. But if you say, listen, God made me a man. I've always been a man. I'm always going to be a man. And I'm comfortable in my manhood and grateful to God that he made me a man. And I'm not aspiring to be anything other than the man God made me to be. Oh my goodness. Those are the words of an oppressor. Those are the words of a man of toxic masculinity. And Donald Trump, that's who he is. And they hate him for it. If only he were just more limp-wristed. If only he would switch instead of striding. Yeah, I said it because it needs to be said. And then he would be acceptable, you know. If only he were a little bit more gentle, a little bit more androgynous, kind of like Barack Obama. You know, Barack Obama is not a masculine guy. Barack Obama is kind of a. You saw that video of his workout. I said, how in the world he allowed that to be, where he had these little 2-pound weights. Lord have mercy. I mean, folks, I'm 73 years old. I'm lifting more than that now. You know? Way more than that now. I still lift weights. I'm lifting way more than that now. Barack Obama was in his 50s then, and he's got these little 2-pound weights. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, help us. Help us, Lord, help us. And I think, you know, the left look at that and say, oh, what a wonderful man he is. You know, he's our kind of man. You know, oh my goodness gracious. I used to sometimes watch him and just shake my head. He would walk to this podium and just lift his hand, you know, lift his hand gently. Oh, Lord. Oh, my God, help us. At any rate, I'm just telling you what I've observed, folks. Yeah, Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Prize and a whole lot of other prizes and awards for what Donald Trump is doing for this country. Donald Trump is not a dictator, has no aspirations to be. Donald Trump is not Hitler. Donald Trump is not a Nazi. All this crazy talk that these leftists are inspiring, and Donald Trump is not a racist. Even with this latest thing, I'm almost out of time here. I'm gonna try to end my program at 45 minutes. But Donald Trump is not a racist with this. This latest thing that he's bringing these people in from South Africa. These white. I mean, I think the white population in South Africa, the South Africans are I think they're primarily British, if I'm not mistaken, ancestry, but only about 8% of them in the whole country. 8%. Now, of course, that kind of underscores how unjust apartheid was. But now you've got a new apartheid, because the African National Congress is running South Africa, and the African National Congress is both racist and communist. And basically what they're doing is punishing their ancestrally European population instead of what I thought Mandela was all about was real reconciliation, that we live together as a nation, and we live in peace, and we live in harmony, and we put the past behind us. But that's not what's happening. So Donald Trump is giving them refugee status and allowing them to come into the country, and the left is up in arms. I mean, can you believe this, folks? The Episcopal Church NGO has actually gotten out of the refugee business because they said Donald Trump is not recognizing Donald Trump has polluted the refugee process by recognizing, first of all, white people don't need to be refugees. And Donald Trump made clear, I don't care what the color of anybody's skin is. I don't care. He said these people are being persecuted because of the color of their skin. They're being persecuted, and they're being murdered, their land being confiscated, and they need a home because the African National Congress, and I don't know to what extent the population is going along with this, has made it clear that that's not the home they want. And, you know, I really had high hopes for South Africa. I really did. High hopes that South Africa, a nation rich in land and resources, natural resources, that, I mean, look, apartheid was an egregious evil. I mean, just like slavery. But there were many, many corporations there working, not because of apartheid, but because there was a population there that could use all the products that they were producing. And there was an opportunity there for them to make a profit serving that population. And many companies, as you know, as apartheid became an international issue, many companies did away with apartheid practices and operated in the country without that. As that whole system began to crumble, I don't know what's going to happen to the future of the country now. Because my hope was these companies would stay, that all the apartheid stuff would end, that there'd be reconciliation, that it would be a country that would be a wealthy and an ally of the United States of America. And we'd have a real strong foothold in Africa as a result of the prosperity and the freedom of South Africa. It hasn't happened. I think for all practical purposes, South Africa is a communist country. For all practical purposes. So it's rather sad, but it is not racist for the president. And this is, by the way, a fairly small group of people, comparatively speaking, unlike what the Democrats have tried to do with folks coming from South America and from all over the world crossing our southern border. This is a fairly small population of people. But, oh no, he's a racist, because if he weren't a racist, he would let them suffer and die there, maybe be murdered there, have their property confiscated there, because even though they qualify for refugee status because they're being persecuted because of their race. If you're being persecuted because of race, because of religion, because of politics, you know, broadly speaking, that qualifies you for refugee status. Even though they're being persecuted, since they're white people, they're not entitled. It is, folks. I have rightly dubbed them Democrats, because that's exactly. And I think about this: they're fighting to get MS-13 and Trinidad killers and robbers and meat thieves and murderers and child molesters released into our country. But they don't want refugees from South Africa coming into our country. And by the way, you know what Al Sharpton actually had the nerve to say? We don't know whether these people are criminals. We don't know what. Are you kidding me? Does their hypocrisy know no bounds? Apparently not. Because when you say that about all the illegal aliens that have invaded our country during the Biden administration, and you raise those kinds of questions, you're racist. But when you raise those questions, I guess, against white South Africans, these are appropriate questions that have to be raised about people we're letting into our country. I mean, it's almost hard to believe it, that a person can talk out of both sides of their mouths that way. But I guess when you're demonic, you have no problem with it, because the truth really doesn't matter anyway. Well, I just wanted to say I vote the Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump. And as far as I'm concerned, the one they gave to Barack Obama ought to be rescinded, because it was worthless when they gave it to him, and it's even more worthless now. Because there's no legacy that Barack Obama has left with this country with that is worth celebrating, other than the fact that he was the first black president. And that's where it stops. That's where it begins. That's where it stops. And I haven't heard a single person make an argument. Oh, no. Barack Obama did, and then give me something. I said, well, yeah, you know, you're right. He did do it. He did accomplish that. No. Now, of course, Osama bin Laden was killed during his administration, but he didn't kill him. Navy SEALs did that. He just sat back and watched. Now, of course, he had to give the order, and I give him credit for that, but what was he going to say? Follow stupid Biden and say, oh, no, we can't do that. So I'm not singing his praises for that. To me, it was a no-brainer, and you'd have been you've been a complete and utter and total idiot not to allow the Navy SEALs to take advantage of an opportunity to kill him. I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, yeah, you want to give him credit for that, fine, but I don't think it's anything that you can say, oh, wow, that was just amazing because of his amazing leadership. Because he wasn't providing any leadership, in my view, for the country at all. And the leadership, the influence he was providing for the country was all wrong, was all going in the wrong direction. It was racist. It was sexually perverse. It was some kind of fantasizing about the glory of Islam, which is not true. And of course, preparing the world for the apocalyptic end that's going to happen unless we do something about climate change, and yet, and all at the same time, while claiming to be a Christian during all that. As I said before, if Barack Obama's a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, and believe me, I am no Buddhist. I am a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, a disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm born again, washed in the blood, filled with his precious Holy Spirit. He died on the cross for my sins and rose the third day with all power in his hands. That's what I believe. And my primary identity is in Christ Jesus, not in skin color or party or ideology or anything else, but in Christ Jesus. And my primary blueprint for life is the word of the living God. Now, Barack Obama's a Christian. I'm a Buddhist, which tells you how convinced I am that he's a Christian. All right, that's going to do it for today, folks. I will be back with you again tomorrow. But look, tomorrow and Thursday, I will not be with you on Friday because on Friday I will be preparing for the dinner. I will be up in the Washington, D.C. area, up in Northern Virginia. We're going to talk about that too. Donald Trump, if he will disperse all those federal bureaucrats in Northern Virginia to various parts of the country, he would save the Commonwealth that was shaped by George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison and James Monroe and George Mason, and save it for our posterity instead of allowing it to become a leftist haven like California or Massachusetts or Vermont, because that's where the left wants to take us. And we've got to stop them. God bless everybody. You know what to do. Stand up, step up, speak up, and refuse to back up. Because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit. Because we are on God's side.